I want to thank Adrian Velicescu and the team at Standard Vision for producing that video. I don't know if you guys noticed, that was not an animation. Those were real buildings. Pretty fantastic stuff. Thank you, Adrian. So, good morning, everybody. I'm Howard Berger, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this, our opening general session for our 14th annual Realcomm, and as well as our first annual IBCon conference. In the context of what we do at Realcomm, that is innovation, automation, integration, process improvement, all built on strategic application of technology, I think we've seen a year somewhat unlike anything we've seen since .com. It's been exciting to see a number of new ideas and innovative products. There's been a dramatic increase, I think, in the number of quantifiable automation that's been resulting in great data and case studies. In short, the activity, we're very excited this year to bring you over the next two days the best of what we found over this past year. It's been both exciting, but it's been a heck of a lot of work pulling this conference together. It took a lot of resources, and we reached out to a lot of folks for help. In the process, a number of people stepped up. Many were old friends, but we made some new friends also. And they saw the vision, and they agreed to partner with us, and they contributed energy, their time, their resources, dollars, brain power to help us put these twin conferences together. There's no way I can thank everybody who's contributed, but there are a few folks that I think it's important to acknowledge before we get underway. Let me get my clicker. First, a few years ago, we started the tradition of selecting a chairman who'd serve as the informal leader of our advisory council, and that process has evolved into the selection of two co-chairs working collaboratively. This year, I'd like to thank our co-chairman, Don Goldstein, Global CIO for CBRE, and Jim Whalen, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Boston Properties. In addition to being two of the busiest people in the world, these two outstanding gentlemen found the time to serve as our informal leaders and were instrumental in helping us set the course for this conference. Thank you, Don and Jim. Also, there's no way we could put on this level of conference without the support of sponsors. The companies that sponsor Realcomm and IBCon do much more than write checks. They provide the intellectual support. They also help with a lot of the raw content, and that really made this conference program possible. They encourage clients to come and helped us in many ways that most people don't even realize. It's really been much more like a partnership with our sponsors, because without the good work they do, we wouldn't have that much to talk about here at the conference. So our sponsor for today's general session is Yardi, probably the most visible and trusted brand in our industry. And I just want to say thank you, Anant, Brad, Setzer, Rob Teal, and the entire Yardi team for honoring us again this year with your support. Our highest level of support comes from our platinum sponsors. This year's platinums are both Yardi and Tritium, and shortly you're going to be hearing from both. You'll be hearing from Yardi's Brad Setzer and Tritium's Mark Peacock. So again, thank you, Yardi and Tritium. Again, you were the cornerstone that made Realcomm and IBCon possible. I'd also like to thank our gold sponsors, CGI and Argus. Thank you, sponsors. Finally, I'd like to thank all the advisors, both on the Realcomm as well as on the IBCon side. These men became the body and soul of the conference by making themselves virtually available around the clock to help ensure that we were bringing the best people, ideas, and stories together for this conference. The lion's share of the work's been done by our chairman and our sponsors and advisors, and the Realcomm team, I think, has really been blessed to have the opportunity to act as the facilitator in aggregating many of these great minds and ideas to bring them together within the walls of this conference. I wish I had the time to thank each of the advisors individually. Many of them have taken an active role in both the planning and delivery of the program by moderating, speaking, and participating and contributing ideas. It's truly been an honor to work with such a great group of folks. Thank you, advisors. Finally, I'd like to thank the entire Realcomm team, my family. I want to thank Jim, Jan, Nancy, Lisa, Julie, Dan, Cameron, Sherry, Sarah, Sandra, Chuck, Jerry, Raleen, TK, Dan, Steve, and Mary. This is the best group of people I've ever worked with. Thank you, Realcomm team. Okay, just one more thing. I wanted to let you know that we put together a mobile application for your use during the conference that has all the updated conference information. It's web-based, it's device-independent, great GUI, very, very easy to use. It's a slick application. You can create your own personal conference schedule, browse the program, look at sessions, see who's speaking, get information on exhibitors and sponsors, see them on a map of the expo floor. You'll even get alerts on special events, and it works on any device and also has an offline mode. So we've got QR codes on signage outside, and in the program guide you can scan the QR code and pull up your and pull up the website on it, and then just bookmark it. It's very, very easy to use and convenient. And just one last thing: when you go to the program tab on the mobile application, there are pages for each individual session. At the end, there's a place to rate the sessions from 1 to 5 stars plus comments. Please take a moment, after each session, leave your comments and your feedback, and that'll help us get even better for each successive year. So with that, I'd like to call up Brad Setzer, Vice President of Marketing for Yardi, our general session sponsor and one of our conference platinum sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. I'd like to start out by quoting Eric Schmidt, who was the president of Google. And by the way, he is quite a quotable guy. Said some interesting things during his tenure, and I would recommend that it's worthwhile to Google him. In a tech conference in 2010, he said, "Today, the world produces more information in 48 hours than in all of history up to the year 2003. Now, I don't know if that's actually accurate, but I don't doubt that it's something along those lines. And he stated something like 5 billion gigabytes over a 2-day period. But there's some significant implications here. All of this access to information is supposed to make our lives easier, and it does in a number of ways. But there's a challenge here because the pace of information drives the pace of business. Sort of interesting to look back at the things that emerged over the course of the first decade in this century that led us to this position where we are operating in such a disproportionately larger volume of information. It wasn't too long ago when communication, and for that matter, information gathering, was a singular task. We had to stop what we were doing and we had to go to somewhere or to something in order to communicate. We had to go to a telephone or sit down at a desk and write a letter or go to a desktop computer. To gather information, we went to a library or an encyclopedia or some sort of hard publication. Now, these are multitask type of activities because we can take part in them at the same time that we're doing virtually anything else. I can sit in a business meeting and I can do other business on my mobile device at the same time. I can go to a football game and I can watch an entirely different football game on my iPad at the same time. Next time you go into a restaurant, take a look around the room. See how many people are actually texting on their mobile devices or have them ready beside them at the table. Presumably, while they're supposed to be enjoying the company of the people they're with. The emergence of social media has created sort of a me-formation age. I can now tell the entire world everything about me for anybody who cares or is interested. LinkedIn is becoming widely adopted as the professional networking community, and there's some interesting potential benefits there. For example, the notion of putting up information in a resume so employers can come find us. With Facebook, I know more about what my friends are doing every minute of their life. How many people here opened up a Facebook account just so you could see what your kids were up to? It wasn't so long ago either that we, all of us on the streets, were basically information receivers. We went to the television, the newspaper, radio, magazine, to receive news and receive information from news professionals and people of certain expertise. But with the internet and websites and blogs and review sites and Wikipedia, now we're all experts. We're all information providers, which brings the question about credibility of the information. And furthermore, the Yelps of the internet mean that we, as a business, are faced with the notion of reputation management. Because our customers are critiquing us loudly, candidly, in public. Some interesting statistics. Facebook is a $4 billion business. It has over 3 billion likes per day. If you have a Facebook account, you know what that means. Over 300 million photographs uploaded each day. Now think about your business system and think about what it would take for you to upload 300 million graphical files in a single day. Facebook is one of the most innovative technological inventions of our time. And they've become so good at it, now we have this question of privacy and a debate about the ethics of using personal habits and patterns in order to do target marketing. Some other interesting statistics. BlackBerry's been around since 1999, but they released their first widely recognized BlackBerry smartphone in 2002, which is about the time Mr. Schmidt was talking about. And they quickly became the first business mobile standard, and by 2009 had grown to 32 million subscribers. And look what Apple has done in a short time. 108 million iPhones sold, 67 million iPads sold, and this year they are projecting they will hit the 100 million mark. Other providers are following suit. Now Android has a mere 12 million tablets sold, but they actually lead the pack globally for all mobile devices at 300 million. So what does this all mean? You'd think I work for a technology company, I could figure out how to work the slideshow. What does this mean? These are stats and trends that are interesting, and there are many more, but they tell a story about what we have become as a society. We are not just a technological culture. We're a mobile culture. And I would suggest to you that we are more advanced in this regard in our personal lives than we are in our business lives at this juncture. But the folks on the street with these mobile devices who are super users, they are inclined to gather the information they need for business decisions in the same way that they gather it for personal purposes, and at the same dynamic, that is, instantly. So we as service providers and solution providers, we have to be prepared to provide that information by those means and by that dynamic. And it's not an easy thing. It's not so much about whether to or whether not anymore. And it's not even so much about what technology or what kind of technology to adopt. It's become about how to eat this elephant. How do we create a system that will enable us to do this? Because we have to take data from every corner of the business, and we have to collect it and combine it in ways that we've historically never had to before, because now it's got to be ready-made, and it's got to be accessible on demand and in an interactive way. So such a technology initiative touches the entire organization and everybody in it. So the CEO has a challenge, because this is not just an IT initiative. This is a business-wide initiative. So we have to have organizational alignment. All of the business leaders in every department and every division have to be on board and support. There needs to be change management at a larger scale than ever before, because an initiative like this touches everybody. So that means there are going to be more people who need help to do things that they have done for a very long time in a certain way, in a new way. And lastly, there's got to be internal marketing. Everybody from the CEO to the people in the field, as well as the stakeholders, the tenants, their employees, the owners, the investors. They all have to understand how such initiative is going to benefit them. How will it help their business? How will it help make their jobs easier and better? How will it help all of them succeed at a much higher level? This is really the central theme of this conference this year. And over the course of the next 2 days and in this session, you're going to hear about trends and about stories of companies like yours who are working and making efforts to this end. So with those thoughts in mind, let's kick off Realcomm 2012. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome co-founder and producer of the Realcomm Conference Group, Jim Young.
Good morning, everybody. Number 14, who'd have thunk? I remember Chicago 1999 like it was yesterday. And some of the faces in the audience were there, and we got lots of new faces, so it's all good. I've only got 8 minutes to speak, and we've got an incredibly jam-packed general session. So as normal, I'm going to speak fast. And if I have a couple minutes at the end, I'll elaborate, as you know I do. All right, theme, fast forward. It's time. If all of us know what an adoption curve looks like, it's for the fax machine, it's for the automobile, it's for anything that is moving forward and progressing. In the real estate technology world, we've been slugging along that bottom chasm, the innovators really taking hold, not giving up. I believe personally that we're in that first section of the early adopters, where I'm not sure we've jumped the chasm yet, but we're very close. And as Howard said, the amount of activity in the last 12 months has been insane. I mean, we've seen so much activity and new ideas and new companies that it makes us feel like it's getting ready to jump. And when it jumps, I like to tell everybody, we're not here refining our industry the same way it's been done for the last 100 years, incrementally. We're not here making little adjustments. Realcomm has always been about redefining the industry for the next 100 years, and I think we're pretty close. The only problem is, trying to convince the masses is useless. It's people in this room that will fight until things change, and ultimately it's going to jump. And then if you go back to your offices or other companies who aren't really inclined to want to change and innovate, it's denial, hesitation, curiosity, experimentation, basic adoption, and then accelerated adoption. It's been true for the history of man, starting with the wheel, and it's going to be true until we take this industry paperless, digital, flattened, efficient, and smart. In respect of adoption, it takes a long time. You see the first phone on the left took 136 years to get to today. Mobile phones took about 30 years, but what's really fast is you get towards the end. Just think of what's happened in just the last 3 years with smartphones. So it took 136 years to perfect that concept of going to a landline, 30 years of perfecting the mobile world, and just in 3 years, as Brad had mentioned, we can now dial up the world on our cell phones, do video conferencing. The speed of change has been insane. Now, if you think about the building industry, not so much, okay? I mean, if you look at a car 10 years ago, if you look at a phone 10 years ago, if you look at your television 10 years ago, major changes. Our buildings, not so much, but we're getting there. All right, everybody remembers that, right? Well, now we got that. So you used to go to an office, clunky, now you got people in Starbucks with laptops. That used to be the general store. And I don't know if you've seen this one yet. This was started in Seoul, but I think we got one in Chicago. That is not a real grocery store. That's simply a cardboard cutout with photos of groceries in a subway station. And as you're waiting for your train, you take your cell phone with your QR codes and you do your shopping. And then it's delivered to your we saw that in Seoul about 2 years ago, but it's in the US right now, and it's only a matter of time before you see this everywhere. Okay, we used to sign leases. Go out on that exhibit floor. You're going to see it done automatically. We finally are getting to the point where click here, I agree, not the 20,000 square foot stuff, but the simple stuff, we're going to be able to do electronically. And on the intelligent building side, the IBCon side, those meters, people walking around connecting them, not so much, connected to the network, digital, moving. Now, everybody in this room, that's no shock to, but you go to a lot of the other conferences or talk to other people in the industry, this is not something that they're comfortable with. They're not something. You are the innovators. You are the early adopters. You will take this industry, and you will all be the ones that push it forward. So, some things to consider. Global. If the world falls apart again, we're going to be impacted. China slowing down a little bit, volatility in other parts of the emerging markets, capital, interest zero rates, interest 0% interest rates, debt issues. These are all the things we talk about and we worry about. Natural resource constraints, 7 billion people, Middle East political unrest. We can't change these things for the most part. We can keep our heads down, focus on our industry, but we have to be aware. United States, how long is the slow growth going to last? We're now seeing global competition that we all saw 8 years ago when we went on our trip to Asia. Political dysfunction, I don't think there's anybody in this room who's happy with our politicians. I don't know what it's going to take to get them to pay attention. Math and science, we've been screaming that for years. Shell just came, or Exxon came out with a commercial. Prime time, I couldn't believe it. 25th in math. We got to fix that. But on a positive note, based upon our travels around the world, we are regaining our innovation standing. And I think what is happening in this room, this hall, this conference for the next 2 days, that we are seeing more international people coming to this event. And I think the U.S., you take 100 years of real estate experience, commercial real estate experience, combine it with next generation technologies, and you are going to see the world-class best innovation coming out of this country. And you're going to see it in that exhibit hall over the next 2 days. Big, big change in the last 3 years. General technology, Brad, unprecedented pace. I can't keep up with it. Nobody can keep up with it. Some I love, and I'll tell you, some of it I hate. It is disrupting traditional business models. We're going to talk about that a lot in this session and other ones. Organizational departments getting exploded, boundaries dropping, people jumping the fence, collaborating, new rules, new job descriptions, old people or old jobs going away, really close to that chasm. Mobile and cloud, don't need to say a word about that. It's reinventing everything. Live, work, play. You just saw 8 examples of how technology is changing the built environment, and that's not going to stop. When you can have the world's universal Encyclopedia Britannica in your pocket, accessible to every piece of information, the world changes. And then you'll hear this a lot, the Internet of Things. That's the next wave of the Internet. Electromechanical devices, everything attached to the Internet, light switches, sensors on everything. That's the next big wave. And what we're calling our little part of that world is the Internet building world of things, okay? It's the building Internet of Things. Business real estate, it's improving, but there's still some issues. eBay, Starbucks, we're seeing really some conflicts on how we used to do things in buildings. We're seeing some conflicts. Industry consolidation, you are going to continue to see big companies buying small. It's just the efficiency gains that can be achieved are just reason to keep going. Tech impact, every single department. Wait till you see our next session. Every department, not just the IT department, CEO to the receptionist. And then location, data. Real estate technology, mobility is rewriting everything. Wait till you see the enterprise integration that's taking place. Every department's being impacted. Hyper efficiency, got to get things from 10 steps to 2. And intelligent buildings, which we're going to talk about at IBCon in a big way. Big data is impacting the CIO. Intelligent buildings, this is the new entry into Realcomm. We decided to pull the conversation out after 10 years and give it its own identity. It will be sit next to Realcomm. Everybody at Realcomm gets everything they always had. They get 8 more sessions in Realcomm, so Realcomm is bigger and stronger than ever, and IBCon went from 8 sessions to 30 sessions. That's how deep that conversation's going. IT BAS integrators are competing for the lead roles in projects. Ready, available technology surpassing the skill set. That's a critical point. The technology is so insane, but the skill sets to be able to interpret are struggling. Data analytics at the center, and energy is important, but let's not lose sight of the operational efficiency. Anybody who's interested in ROI is going to be very interested in the dollars saved by the operational efficiencies and not just energy. My final thoughts. More vendors on that exhibit floor since .com. Spend time with every single one of them. Remember, Google Earth was a vendor on our exhibit floor as Keyhole in 2001. Nobody knew who they were or what to expect, and look how they changed the world. I guarantee you there is a vendor on that exhibit floor that is going to radically redefine everything we do in the next 5 years, and you should want to be the first person to find that. Realcomm, automating everything. Leases, property management, receivables, fire extinguishers, maintenance requests, walkthroughs, inspections, site tours, every aspect of the transaction, people are racing to take it from, as I said, 10 steps to 2. IBCon, it was IT-centric, not your grandfather's building automation show. This is not traditional disparate systems, HVAC. This is every electromechanical device on an IT network pushing its way into complex analytics and redefining operations. Cloud and mobile, changing everything, as I mentioned earlier. In the next 36 months, I'm going out on a limb here, fast forward strategy will separate the leaders from the followers in this industry. People who are inclined to stick to their old practices and their old ways, the people in this room, you are going to be so far ahead of them. And they will look at the way you're doing business and it will seem alien. Great news, we are back in the real estate industry, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, but we are now leading the globe in best practices for operating commercial, corporate, institutional, and government real estate. And that's evidenced by GSA's contract, which started in this conference 3 years ago, and the award was 3 weeks ago. Larry Melton could not be here because of the political fallback from that scandal. He wishes he could be here. That's not GSA. GSA are the hardworking people that have been behind the scenes. They're going to take 50 buildings, they're going to go to 200 buildings, and eventually the entire GSA portfolio will be representative of an IT technology infrastructure that will redefine how we operate commercial buildings. It's no longer about the technology. You got more technology on that exhibit floor in those sessions than we've ever had before. It's cheap, it's easy, it's mature, it's reliable. It is about you, it's about the people back at your offices, it's about your vision, your passion, and your willingness to risk. Improve things, don't be satisfied with the status quo, lead and move forward fast. Thank you very much. I went over 2 minutes, I apologize. Everybody have a great conference.